My son-in-law stood in my kitchen, red-faced and screaming that I was trespassing in my own house. I'm Walter Morrison, 72 years old, and I've spent 40 years building something my daughter's husband never bothered to understand. He threatened to have me arrested, demanded I leave immediately, and told his lawyer friends I was a senile old man squatting in property that belonged to his wife.
Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you.
What he didn't know was that I didn't just own that house. I owned the medical building where he practiced, the parking garage he used every day, and the country club where he bragged about his success. And the person I called wasn't the police. It was his boss. By morning, his entire world had collapsed. I didn't argue when he started yelling. I didn't raise my voice when he pulled out his phone. I just reached into my pocket, made one call, and watched a man who thought he had all the power realize he had none. If you're watching this, please subscribe and let me know where you're watching from, because this story starts 4 decades ago when I made a promise to myself about the difference between building an empire and letting people think you're just a harmless old man. That promise would cost my son-in-law everything he thought he'd achieved. Most people look at me and see exactly what my son-in-law Derek sees, a 72-year-old widower who drives a 2008 Honda Civic with a dented bumper and over 200,000 miles on it. Someone who wears the same 3 flannel shirts on rotation and buys his groceries at discount stores with senior citizen coupons. Someone who lives in a modest ranch house in a middle-class neighborhood, mows his own lawn, and still uses a flip phone because smartphones are too complicated. Derek Patterson, 34 years old, orthopedic surgeon, drives a white Tesla Model S and absolutely convinced that his father-in-law is a burden his wife needs to finally address. Grandpa Walt literally lives like he's on food stamps, he told my daughter Jennifer 6 months ago when I was supposedly out of earshot. My colleagues ask about your family, and I have to explain why your dad shows up to dinner in clothes from a thrift store. It's embarrassing, Jen. We have a reputation to maintain. Jennifer Morrison Patterson, my only child, 31 years old, hospital administrator, and caught between the father who raised her and the husband who thinks he rescued her from a life of mediocrity. She started making excuses for me about a year ago. Dad's just set in his ways. He grew up during harder times. He doesn't understand how things work in our social circle. Our social circle, as if the foundation I built meant nothing. The first sign I was losing my daughter happened 8 months ago when Derek started referring to my house as wasted equity in conversations. Then it became the property we need to discuss. Then simply an asset that should be liquidated. Walt needs to be in assisted living anyway, he announced over Sunday dinner at their place. That house is worth maybe $300,000. We could sell it, get him into a decent facility, and use the remaining funds to invest in something that actually generates returns. Something that generates returns. My home of 40 years, where I raised Jennifer after her mother died, reduced to an underperforming investment. Derek had spreadsheets, actual spreadsheets showing the cost of various senior living facilities, the estimated sale price of my house, and projected returns if they invested the difference in index funds. He presented this to me like he was doing me a favor, saving me from the burden of home maintenance and yard work at my age. The second sign came when Jennifer stopped visiting me at my house and instead insisted I come to theirs. "We have more space, Dad. You'll be more comfortable here." But I noticed how Derek would steer conversations whenever his friends came over, redirecting attention away from questions about my background or work history. "Walter's retired," he'd say quickly, then change the subject. "Small business owner. Nothing interesting. Let me tell you about this investment opportunity instead." What Derek doesn't know is that I've been watching him carefully for the past year, watching him brag to his surgical partners about his real estate investments, watching him take credit for financial advice he got from his wealth management team, watching him treat service workers like they're invisible and talk down to anyone who doesn't match his income level. watching him slowly convince my daughter that her 72-year-old father is a liability who needs to be managed. 3 months ago, Derek started bringing up memory care facilities. Just as a precaution, Walt, you're getting older. We want to make sure you're safe. He'd leave brochures on my kitchen counter when they visited, glossy pamphlets showing smiling seniors playing checkers in sterile common rooms. The prices ranged from $5,000 to $8,000 a month. This one has a special Alzheimer's wing, he said, tapping a brochure, just in case things progress. Things progress, as if my faculties were already failing. I'm 72 years old. I still do the New York Times crossword in pen every morning. I manage my own finances, maintain my own home, and drive myself wherever I need to go. But Derek had started planting seeds with Jennifer, little comments about how I'd repeated a story or forgotten a name, normal things that happen to everyone, but suddenly evidence of cognitive decline when you're over 70. Last month, Derek convinced Jennifer that I shouldn't be driving anymore. "Dad, you're a danger to yourself and others," she said gently, like she was talking to a child. "Derek says there are affordable senior transportation services. We could set that up for you." Derek says. Everything had become Derek says, as if my daughter's own judgment had been completely overridden by her husband's opinions. But the breaking point wasn't the assisted living brochures or the driving conversation or even the spreadsheets about liquidating my assets. It was what happened 2 weeks ago when Derek and Jennifer showed up at my house unannounced with a real estate agent. "Walt, we need to talk," Derek said, walking in without waiting for an invitation. "This is Sandra Cooperman. She specializes in quick sales for seniors transitioning to care facilities. We've already discussed your situation, and she thinks we can have the house sold within 30 days. My situation. The situation where I'm a competent adult living independently in my own house. Sandra smiled at me with practiced sympathy, the kind real estate agents use when they're trying to convince elderly people to give up their homes. "Mr. Morrison, I understand this is emotional, but Derek and Jennifer have your best interests at heart. The market is strong right now. We could get you $320,000, maybe $350 if we're lucky. That would set you up very comfortably in a lovely facility." $320,000 for a house I bought for $68,000 in 1983. They had no idea what it was actually worth, but more importantly, they had no idea why the number didn't matter to me at all. I told him I needed time to think about it. Derek's face tightened. "Walt, we don't have time. Jennifer and I have already put a deposit down on a memory care suite at Meadowbrook Senior Living. It's $8,000 a month, but it's the best facility in the state. We're trying to help you here." "You put a deposit down without asking me?" "On my behalf." Derek's voice got an edge. "Someone has to make responsible decisions here. We can't wait until there's a crisis." "What crisis?" Derek and Jennifer exchanged a look. The kind of look that said, "We've talked about this." The kind that meant they'd been having conversations about me behind my back for months. "Walt," Jennifer said softly, "you're not getting any older. What if something happens? What if you fall? What if you forget to turn off the stove? What if you can't take care of yourself anymore?" What if? Every hypothetical catastrophe used to justify taking away my independence and my home. I asked them to leave. I told them I would think about it and give them an answer in a few days. Derek didn't like that. His jaw clenched, and I could see him calculating whether to push harder or retreat. He chose retreat, but not gracefully. "We'll talk about this again soon, Walt, and next time I hope you'll be more reasonable about what's best for everyone involved." Everyone involved, as if my life decisions needed to serve his interests. After they left, I sat in my kitchen for a long time looking at the real estate agent's business card they'd left on my counter. Then I walked to my office, the small spare bedroom that Jennifer thinks is just where I keep old tax returns and her mother's photo albums, and I opened the filing cabinet I haven't shown anyone in years. The documents were exactly where I left them. Morrison Property Group Incorporation papers, commercial real estate acquisition records, lease agreements, bank statements, business journal article from 5 years ago titled The Silent Giants of Medical Real Estate.
Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story.
I spread everything across my desk and made a list of calls I needed to make, because Derek had just crossed a line he didn't know existed, and the person I was about to call would make him wish he'd never heard the name Walter Morrison.
The intervention happened 3 days later. That's what Derek called it when he showed up at my house with Jennifer, his brother who's a lawyer, and a social worker he'd somehow convinced to make a house call. An intervention, like I was an addict or a danger to myself. They walked in like they owned the place, Derek leading the charge with a leather portfolio under his arm and that expression he gets when he thinks he's the smartest person in the room. "Walt, we're here because we care about you," Jennifer started. But I could see she'd been crying. Her eyes were red and she wouldn't look directly at me. Derek must have really worked on her, convinced her this was necessary, that her father had become incompetent overnight. Derek sat down at my kitchen table without being invited and opened his portfolio. Inside were more documents, more plans for my life that I hadn't agreed to. "We've consulted with Dr. Brennan here," Derek said, gesturing to a woman in her 40s wearing a professional smile. "She's a geriatric social worker who specializes in helping families navigate difficult transitions. She's reviewed your situation and agrees that independent living is no longer the safest option for you." My situation? Reviewed without ever meeting me, apparently? Dr. Brennan leaned forward with practiced concern. "Mr. Morrison, I understand this feels overwhelming, but your family has expressed legitimate concerns about your ability to maintain this property and manage your daily needs safely." "What concerns specifically?" I asked. "Well, Derek mentioned you've been forgetting appointments, repeating stories, and having difficulty with basic financial management." "I haven't forgotten any appointments. I don't have any appointments, and I've never had difficulty with financial management." Derek's brother, Justin, spoke up for the first time. "Well, denial is common in these situations. We're not here to argue. We're here to help you understand that this decision has already been made for your own protection." This decision has already been made. Those words hung in the air like a threat. What decision? Jennifer finally looked at me. "Dad, we've arranged for you to move to Meadowbrook next week. We've already started packing some of your things. The facility is beautiful. You'll have your own suite, 24-hour care, activities, everything you need." "We've packed my things." I stood up and walked to my bedroom. Sure enough, boxes were stacked in the corner. Someone had been in my house, going through my belongings, deciding what I would and wouldn't need in my new controlled environment. My mother's china was wrapped in newspaper. My books were packed away. My life was being dismantled without my consent. I came back to the kitchen where 4 people sat waiting to manage me. "Who packed those boxes?" Jennifer looked guilty. "I did that. Yesterday, while you were at the grocery store. Derek gave me his key." "Derek doesn't have a key to my house." Jennifer's face flushed. "I had one made last month, just in case of emergencies." "In case of emergencies." So she could break into my house and pack my belongings while I was buying milk and bread. Derek pulled out more papers from his portfolio. "Walt, we need you to sign these documents. This one gives Jennifer power of attorney over your medical decisions. This one allows us to list the house for sale, and this one authorizes the transfer to Meadowbrook with Jennifer as your responsible party." "What if I refuse to sign?" "Then we'll need to pursue a competency hearing," Justin said matter-of-factly. "Derek has documented concerns about your cognitive decline. Dr. Brennan can testify as an expert witness. We have statements from neighbors about concerning behavior." A competency hearing. They were threatening to have me declared legally incompetent if I didn't voluntarily surrender control of my life. "What concerning behavior have my neighbors reported?" Derek smiled, the kind of smile that doesn't reach the eyes.
Mr. Chen next door mentioned you were outside in your bathrobe at 6 in the morning last week. Mrs. Patterson across the street said you've been forgetting to bring in your garbage cans. These are signs of declining self-care, Walt. I was getting my newspaper in my bathrobe. I've done that for 40 years, and I bring my garbage cans in every week, just sometimes on Thursday evening instead of Thursday morning. Is there a legal requirement I don't know about? Dr. Brennan interjected smoothly. Mr. Morrison, these may seem like small things to you, but they form a pattern. Combined with your age and living situation, they indicate someone who would benefit from supportive care. You've never met me before today. How can you assess my cognitive function? That's why we'd like you to take a brief screening test, just 15 minutes. It'll help everyone feel better about the situation. A screening test, right here at my kitchen table with 4 people who've already decided the outcome they want. I looked at my daughter. Jennifer, do you really think I'm incompetent? She started crying again. Dad, I don't know. Derek says you might not even realize it's happening. He says that's how it works. Memory problems make you think everything is fine when it's not. I've read articles. I've talked to other doctors' wives who've gone through this with their parents. Derek says, again, every concern, every doubt, every fear traced back to what Derek says. Her husband had systematically convinced her that her capable, independent father was slipping into dementia based on wearing a bathrobe in his own yard and garbage can timing. I need to make a phone call, I said. Walt, we really need to resolve this today, Derek pressed. The Meadowbrick Suite won't hold forever. Other families are interested. I'm making a phone call. I pulled out my flip phone, the one Derek always mocked as proof I couldn't handle technology. Who are you calling? Jennifer asked nervously. Someone who needs to hear about this intervention. I dialed a number I knew by heart. It rang twice before a crisp, professional voice answered. Davidson Medical Center Executive Offices. Hi, Sharon. It's Walter Morrison. I need to speak with Dr. Carlson immediately. It's urgent. There was a brief pause. Mr. Morrison, of course. Let me put you right through. Derek frowned. Who's Dr. Carlson? The person who needs to know what's happening in his medical building. Dr. Andrew Carlson, Chief of Surgery at Davidson Medical Center, came on the line within seconds. Walter, what's wrong? Is there a problem with the building? Not with the building, Andy. With one of your orthopedic surgeons. I have Derek Patterson sitting in my kitchen right now with his lawyer brother threatening to have me declared incompetent so they can take my house and put me in a nursing home. The silence on the other end was profound. Then Dr. Carlson's voice came back, ice cold. Derek Patterson is in your house right now. Derek's face had gone pale. He was staring at me like I'd just spoken a foreign language. Yes, along with his wife, my daughter, Jennifer. They've brought a social worker and have documents ready for me to sign. They've told me this decision has already been made for my protection. Walter, Dr. Carlson said carefully, does Derek know who you are? I don't think so, Andy. I think he believes I'm a senile old man with a $300,000 house and no resources to stop him. Put him on the phone. Now. I held out my flip phone to Derek. Dr. Carlson wants to speak with you. Derek's hand shook slightly as he took the phone. This is Derek Patterson? His confidence from 5 minutes ago was evaporating in real time. I couldn't hear Dr. Carlson's side of the conversation, but I watched Derek's face go from pale to red to pale again. Yes, sir. No, sir. I didn't. I wasn't aware. I apologize. We were just... Yes, sir. Right away, sir. Immediately, sir. Derek handed my phone back like it was radioactive. We should go. What did he say? Jennifer asked. He said we should leave. Now. And that I should report to his office first thing Monday morning. Why would your boss care about Dad's living situation? Justin asked, confused. Derek stood up fast enough that his chair scraped loudly against my floor. Because, apparently, there's information we weren't aware of. We need to leave. Dr. Brennan looked bewildered. I don't understand. We haven't completed the assessment. We're leaving, Derek said firmly. Jennifer, get your things. But Dad, Jennifer started. Now, Jennifer. They gathered their papers and portfolios with shaking hands. Derek couldn't look at me. His brother kept glancing between us, trying to figure out what had just happened. The social worker followed them out, looking professionally embarrassed. Only Jennifer paused at the door. "Dad, what just happened? You'll want to ask your husband about that. Ask him who owns the building where he performs surgery every day. Ask him who his boss just told him was on the phone. Ask him why Dr. Carlson told him to report to his office Monday morning. Jennifer, I'm not senile. I'm not incompetent. And I'm not signing anything." After they left, I sat back down at my kitchen table and finished my coffee. It had gone cold, but I didn't care. My phone rang again. "Walter, it's Andy. That was one of the most unpleasant calls I've ever had to make to one of my surgeons."
Derek showed up at my house again the next morning, but this time he came alone. No Jennifer, no lawyer brother, no social worker with assessment tests. Just Derek in his expensive suit, looking like he hadn't slept, carrying a laptop bag and an expression that told me he'd spent the night on Google learning things he should have known months ago. He knocked instead of using whatever key Jennifer had made, and he waited for me to answer instead of walking in like he owned the place. "Walt, can we talk?" I opened the door wider and let him in. He sat down at the same kitchen table where yesterday he'd tried to have me declared incompetent, but now his leather portfolio stayed in his bag and his hands were empty. "I did some research last night, after I'd talked to Dr. Carlson. I assumed you did. Walt, why didn't you tell us?" "Tell you what, Derek, that I'm not a poor, retired old man who needs to be managed? You never asked. You looked at my Honda and my flannel shirts and decided you knew everything about my financial situation." Derek pulled out his laptop and opened it. Morrison Property Group, founded in 1985, specializing in medical office buildings, parking structures, and commercial real estate. Current portfolio includes 47 properties across 6 states. Estimated value, $850 million. He looked up at me. "You're worth almost $1 billion. The business is worth that much. I'm just the person who built it. But you live like this." Derek gestured around my modest kitchen with its 40-year-old cabinets and linoleum floor. "Why? Why does how I live matter to you?" "Because I thought you were struggling. We were trying to help. You were trying to liquidate my assets and put me in a nursing home so you could invest the proceeds. That's not helping, Derek. That's resource extraction." His face flushed. "I didn't know. If I'd known who you were, what you owned, I never would have..." "Never would have what? Tried to take my house? Threatened me with competency hearings? Convinced my daughter her father was senile? Derek, you did all those things because you thought I was powerless to stop you. Now you know I'm not powerless, so suddenly you're sorry. Dr. Carlson told me you own the Davidson Medical Center building. He said you've owned it for 23 years. He said my entire career has been inside a building you bought before I graduated medical school." "That's correct. And the parking garage where I park every day. Mine. Been mine since 1998. The surgical center where I do my outpatient procedures? Also mine. Bought it in 2004. Derek closed his laptop. "He told me that if I ever speak to you with disrespect again, my privileges at Davidson will be permanently revoked. He said you could end my career with one phone call." Andy's being dramatic. "I wouldn't end your career, but I could make practicing medicine in this city very difficult for you if I chose to. Most of the medical office buildings within 30 miles are owned by Morrison Property Group." Derek was quiet for a long moment. "The country club where Jennifer and I are members? Let me guess, you own that too? Majority shareholder since 2006. The previous owners were going bankrupt. I bought them out, kept the staff, improved the facilities, and let the board keep running it like nothing changed. So when I've been bragging to other members about my real estate investments and my financial portfolio, you've been there listening, knowing you own the ground I'm standing on? I usually play chess in the library on Tuesday afternoons. I hear a lot of interesting conversations." Derek put his head in his hands. "Oh God. The conversation last month where I told Patterson and Chang that I was tired of supporting my father-in-law's lifestyle and it was time for him to contribute to the family finances instead of being a drain?"
You were talking about me contributing to your finances while sitting in a building I own, discussing it over lunch you charged to a membership in a club I control. The irony wasn't lost on me. Walt, I don't know what to say. You could start with why you thought it was acceptable to break into my house and pack my belongings. We had a key. You had a key Jennifer made without my knowledge or permission. That's still breaking in, Derek. And even if you had a legitimate key, you had no right to decide I needed to be removed from my home. Jennifer was worried. About what? About garbage cans in my own yard? Those were excuses, not reasons. Derek stood up and walked to my kitchen window, looking out at the yard he'd decided I couldn't maintain. The truth is, I thought you were holding Jennifer back. Holding her back from what? From the life she deserves. She's a hospital administrator married to a surgeon. We should be living in a bigger house, taking better vacations, joining the right clubs. But she keeps spending money helping you, spending time worrying about you. I thought if we could just resolve your situation, she could focus on our life instead of constantly managing yours. What money has Jennifer spent helping me? Derek turned. She pays your property taxes. No, she doesn't. She told me she does. $4,000 a year to keep you from losing the house. Derek, I pay my own property taxes. All of them. On all 47 properties. Jennifer isn't paying anything for me. She's been paying $4,000 a year somewhere. To who? I don't know. I thought she was paying you. She shows me the bank statements every year when the bill comes due. I pulled out my phone and called my property management company. This is Walter Morrison. Can you tell me who pays the property taxes on 247 Oakwood Drive? There was typing on the other end. That property's taxes are paid through the Morrison Property Group master account, sir. Same as all your residential holdings. Has anyone else ever submitted payment? No, sir. You're listed as sole payer. Taxes are automatically debited every March. I hung up and looked at Derek. Jennifer's been telling you she pays my property taxes. She's been transferring $4,000 a year somewhere, but it's not to my tax bill because that's paid automatically from my business account. Derek pulled out his phone and started scrolling through his banking app. His face went pale again. The transfers go to an account called Family Management Trust. I thought it was something you set up. I've never heard of Family Management Trust, and I've never asked Jennifer for a penny. Every dollar she's sent to that account has gone somewhere else. Derek sat back down hard. Who else would have access to an account like that? Who else has been telling you things about my mental state? Who else has been pushing the narrative that I need help? His eyes widened. My brother, Justin. He set up the trust. He said it was to protect family assets from estate taxes. He said you'd asked him to do it, but were too proud to tell Jennifer directly. Your brother, the lawyer, has been collecting $4,000 a year from my daughter by convincing her I needed help with property taxes I've been paying myself for 40 years. That's fraud. That's elder abuse, even if the elder in question doesn't actually need help. That's using your wife's love for her father to steal money. Derek was scrolling faster through his phone now. Oh no! What? There are other transfers to different accounts. Justin said you needed help with medical bills after your insurance wouldn't cover some prescriptions. Jennifer's been sending money for that too? $300 a month for the past 2 years. That's $7,000. Walt, I don't take any prescriptions. My insurance is excellent because it's through the business. I haven't had an uncovered medical expense in a decade. Derek looked like he might be sick. My brother has been stealing from Jennifer by using you as an excuse. And I helped him do it by convincing her you were incompetent and couldn't manage your own affairs. How much total has she sent? Derek was adding numbers on his phone calculator. Between the property taxes, medical bills, and some emergency home repairs Justin said you needed last year, about $19,000 over 3 years. $19,000 stolen from my daughter by your brother using my name. And you were so busy trying to put me in a nursing home that you never questioned where the money was actually going. I stood up and pulled a business card from my wallet. This is my attorney. Her name is Patricia Chen. She's been my lawyer for 30 years. You're going to call her right now and explain everything you just told me.
Then you're going to call your brother and tell him he has 24 hours to return every penny to Jennifer or we're filing criminal charges." Derek took the card with shaking hands. "And then what?" "Then you're going to explain to my daughter exactly what you've done. Not what your brother did, what you did. You tried to have me declared incompetent. You broke into my house. You threatened me with legal action. You convinced Jennifer her father was losing his mind. You did all of that because you thought I was too poor and too weak to stop you. The fact that your brother was committing fraud doesn't excuse your actions. It just means you were both wrong about who you were dealing with." Derek looked at me with something that might have been respect or might have been fear. "What happens to me now?" "That depends entirely on what you do next, and how you treat my daughter when you tell her the truth about what her husband and brother-in-law have been doing behind her back."
Jennifer showed up at my house that evening, without Derek. She'd been crying, that much was obvious, but there was something else in her expression I hadn't seen in years. Anger. Real anger. Not the frustrated kind she'd shown when I wouldn't sign their documents, but the deep, righteous fury of someone who just discovered they'd been manipulated by the people they trusted most. She sat down at my kitchen table without saying a word and pulled out her phone, opening her banking app and sliding it across to me. 3 years of transfers, Dad. $19,000 I sent thinking I was helping you. Thinking you were too proud to ask for help directly, so Justin set up accounts to make it easier. And Derek encouraged it. Every time I hesitated, every time I wondered if maybe I should just ask you directly, Derek told me it would embarrass you, that men of your generation don't like admitting they need financial help from their daughters. I looked at the screen showing payment after payment to accounts I'd never heard of. Justin called me this morning, after Derek confronted him. He said it started as borrowing money he intended to pay back, but then it became easier to just keep the accounts open. He said he was going through a difficult time financially and saw an opportunity. An opportunity? He saw his sister's love for her father as an opportunity to commit fraud. Jennifer's hands were shaking. I believed him, Dad. I believed Derek. I believed Justin. I thought you were declining. I thought you needed help. I thought I was being a good daughter by managing your care before things got worse. And instead, I was funding my brother-in-law's lifestyle while my husband tried to steal your house. You weren't trying to steal my house, Jennifer. Derek was. There's a difference. She looked up at me with tears streaming down her face. Is there? I went along with it. I made a key to your house without asking. I packed your belongings while you were gone. I sat in this kitchen yesterday and watched them try to intimidate you into signing away your rights, and I didn't stop it. I didn't defend you. You were scared. Derek is very convincing. He's a surgeon. He's confident, and he used that authority to make you doubt your own judgment about your own father. That doesn't excuse what I did. No, it doesn't, but it explains it. Jennifer wiped her eyes. Mom would be so disappointed in me. Your mother would understand that marriage is complicated and that sometimes we make choices we regret. She'd also tell you that what matters now is what you do next. What do you mean? I mean, you have decisions to make, Jennifer, about your marriage, about your relationship with Justin, about what kind of person you want to be going forward. Derek told me everything. About you owning the medical buildings, the parking garages, the country club. He showed me articles about Morrison Property Group. Dad, why didn't you tell me? When should I have told you? When you were 12 and wouldn't have understood? When you were in college, focused on your studies? When you were building your career and I was proud of you for doing it on your own merit? When you met Derek and started planning your future with him? There was never a right moment to sit you down and say, by the way, I'm secretly wealthy, but I choose to live modestly because money doesn't define me. But I could have known. I could have understood. Could you have? Or would you have treated me differently? Would you have wondered if every gift I gave you was because I loved you or because I had money to spare? Would you have questioned whether your own achievements mattered when your father could have bought you anything you wanted? I lived modestly, Jennifer, because I wanted you to understand the value of work, the satisfaction of earning something yourself,
the pride of building a life based on your own skills and efforts. And you did that. You became a hospital administrator through your own talent and dedication. That success is yours, not mine." She was quiet for a long moment. "Derek's privileges at Davidson Medical Center are under review. Dr. Carlson called him in this morning for a 3-hour meeting. He's being evaluated for professional conduct violations, not because of what he tried to do to you, but because he demonstrated judgment that calls into question his decision-making abilities. Apparently trying to have the building owner declared incompetent reflects poorly on his character assessment skills." Andy Carlson is thorough. He takes the reputation of his surgical team very seriously. What happens if Derek loses his privileges? Then he can't perform surgery at Davidson. He'd have to apply at other hospitals, which would require explaining why he left his previous position. His career wouldn't be over, but it would be significantly damaged. And Justin? I filed a police report this afternoon for fraud and elder financial abuse. The detective I spoke with said because there's documented proof of the transfers and Justin's admission that he never used the money for its stated purpose, they have enough for criminal charges. He could face up to 5 years in prison and be disbarred. Jennifer's hands were steady now, not shaking anymore. Good. He deserves it. He stole from me using your name. He exploited my love for you to fund his lifestyle, and when I confronted him, he tried to minimize it, said it was just money, said families help each other, said I was overreacting. What did you say? I told him he's no longer part of my family, that I never want to see him again, that if he contacts me, I'll add harassment charges to the fraud charges. Mom always said Justin was slippery, that I should be careful around him. I thought she was being unfair. Turns out she saw him more clearly than I did. Your mother had good instincts about people. I wish I'd inherited them. You did inherit them. You just let them get overridden by people you thought you should trust. Jennifer closed her banking app and put her phone away. I told Derek I want a separation. We're not divorcing yet, but I need time away from him to figure out if our marriage can survive what he tried to do to you. He's moving into a hotel while we work this through with a counselor, a real counselor this time, not a social worker he recruited for an intervention. How did he take that? He cried, said he was sorry, said he let his ego and ambition cloud his judgment, said he got caught up in trying to impress his parents and his colleagues and forgot what actually matters. He said a lot of things people say when they face consequences. Do you believe him? I don't know, Dad. I want to believe people can change. I want to believe the man I married is still in there somewhere underneath the status-obsessed surgeon who tried to steal his father-in-law's house, but I also know that who we are when we think no one important is watching is who we really are. And when Derek thought you were powerless, he showed me exactly who he really is. That's wisdom your mother would be proud of. Jennifer stood up and walked to my refrigerator, looking at the photos held up by magnets. Pictures of her at various ages, her mother, family moments from before everything got complicated. There's a photo here from my college graduation. You're wearing the same flannel shirt you wore yesterday. I like that shirt. It's comfortable. Derek used to make fun of your clothes, said you dressed like someone who shopped exclusively at thrift stores. I do shop at thrift stores sometimes. They have good deals. But I also have a closet full of expensive suits I wear to board meetings and property negotiations. I just never saw the point of wearing them to have coffee with my daughter or mow my lawn. Jennifer turned around. How many people know? About Morrison Property Group? Everyone who needs to know. My business partners, my attorney, my accountant, my property managers. Dr. Carlson knows because he's been my tenant for over 20 years. The country club board knows because I'm their majority shareholder. But most people in my daily life have no idea, and I prefer it that way. Why? Because the moment people know you have money, they treat you differently. They either want something from you, or they resent you for having it, or they make assumptions about who you are based on your net worth instead of your character. I've watched it happen to other wealthy people. They become isolated in their wealth, surrounded only by other wealthy people, losing touch with normal life. I didn't want that for myself, and I didn't want it to define your childhood. So you let us think you were just an ordinary dad. I am just an ordinary dad. I just happen to own a lot of real estate. Jennifer smiled for the first time since she'd arrived. Dad, there's nothing ordinary about building an $850 million business while driving a Honda Civic and clipping grocery coupons.
6 months later, Jennifer showed up at my house on a Saturday morning, but this time she brought coffee and bagels from the place downtown that I actually like, not the expensive cafe Derek always insisted on. She was wearing jeans and a simple sweater, her hair pulled back in a ponytail, no designer handbag or jewelry that cost more than a car payment. She looked more like the daughter I raised, and less like the person she had been trying to become to fit into Derek's world. "Dad, can we talk?" "Of course, come in." She set the coffee and bagels on my kitchen table, the same table where 6 months ago her husband had tried to have me declared incompetent, but everything felt different now. The air felt lighter. She sat down and pulled out an envelope from her purse. "This came yesterday, the final restitution payment from Justin. All $19,000 plus interest and legal fees. The court ordered it as part of his plea agreement." "How much time did he get?" 2 years in minimum security facility and 5 years probation. He's already been disbarred. He'll never practice law again. And honestly, Dad, I'm okay with that. He made his choices. He has to live with the consequences. That's a mature way to look at it. It took me a while to get here. I was so angry for months. Angry at Justin for stealing from me, angry at Derek for manipulating me, angry at myself for not seeing it. But my therapist helped me understand that anger without action is just poison, so I focused on action instead. "What kind of action?" Jennifer opened the envelope and showed me a cashier's check. "I'm donating half of this to the Alzheimer's Association. In Mom's name. Because when Derek and Justin were using fake cognitive decline as an excuse to control you, they were mocking everyone who actually struggles with dementia, people like Mom did before she died. That's a beautiful gesture. Your mother would love that. And the other half. I'm investing it in myself. I enrolled in an executive MBA program. I start classes next month. I'm tired of being a hospital administrator who just implements other people's decisions. I want to learn how to build something of my own." "That's ambitious. You'll be working full-time and going to school?" "Actually, I quit my job at the hospital." "Jennifer, you loved that job." "I loved parts of it, but I realized I stayed there partly because it was connected to Derek's world. The hospital where he operates, where his colleagues work, where I could be the surgeon's wife playing administrator. I needed to step away from all of that and figure out who Walter Morrison is, not who Jennifer Patterson was trying to be." "What are you doing for work?" "I'm consulting independently, helping smaller medical practices optimize their operations. It pays less than the hospital job, but I'm my own boss, and I'm learning more in 3 months than I learned in 3 years of administrative meetings." "I'm proud of you." "Thanks, Dad. That means more than you know." She pulled out another piece of paper. "I also wanted to show you this. It was a divorce decree, final as of last week. Derek didn't contest anything. We split our assets 50-50, no alimony either direction, clean break." "How do you feel about it?" "Relieved, mostly. We tried counseling for 4 months. Derek really did seem to want to change. He apologized probably 100 times. He went to therapy, he read books about ego and humility, he volunteered at a free clinic to reconnect with why he became a doctor in the first place, and none of it mattered? It mattered. He did change, at least somewhat. But I realized I didn't want to be married to the person he was or the person he was trying to become. I wanted to be married to someone I could trust completely, and that trust was broken. Once you've seen someone willing to have your father declared incompetent to steal his house, you can't unsee that. That's fair. Dr. Carlson offered him a chance to keep his privileges at Davidson if he completed an ethics training program and accepted supervision for a year. He did it. He's still operating there, still successful, but we don't talk, except when necessary. He sent me a card when the divorce was final, said he understood and hoped someday I could forgive him. Can you? Maybe someday. But forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. It just means I'm not carrying his mistakes around with me anymore. More wisdom. You're becoming quite philosophical in your old age. I'm 31, Dad. That's not old. Jennifer laughed.
Fair point. Speaking of age, though, I have a question I've been meaning to ask. What's that? Why do you still live here, in this house with the old cabinets and linoleum floors, when you could afford literally anything? Why do you still drive the Honda with 200,000 miles when you own a parking garage full of empty spaces? Because this house has good memories. Your mother and I bought it together. You grew up here. Every room has a story. And the Honda runs fine. Why replace something that works? But don't you ever want more? More what? More space? More luxury? More of the things money can buy? I have everything I need, Jennifer. I have my health, my work, my independence, and now I have my daughter back. The real version, not the one who was trying to impress people who don't matter. What else would I want? Jennifer's eyes got watery. I missed you, Dad. The real you. I spent so long trying to live up to Derek's expectations and his parents' standards that I forgot what actually matters. Family, honesty, being yourself regardless of what other people think. I missed you too. But you're here now, and that's what counts. She wiped her eyes and pulled out one more paper. Last thing, I promise. What's this? It's a business proposal. I want to buy one of your properties. Buy one? Jennifer, if you need a place to live, I can just give you one. I don't want you to give me one. I want to buy it. With a mortgage at market rates. I want to make monthly payments and build equity and have something that's mine because I earned it, not because my father handed it to me. Which property? The duplex on Riverside. The one you bought in 1995. It needs work, but it's in a good neighborhood, and I can afford the down payment with money I've saved. I want to live in one unit and rent out the other to help cover the mortgage. I want to learn about property management and maintenance and what it takes to make real estate actually work as an investment. You've been researching. I've been learning from the best, even if he never told me he was teaching me. I spent the last 6 months reading everything I could find about Morrison Property Group. You've built something incredible, Dad. Something that provides homes and medical facilities and jobs for hundreds of people. And you did it without flash or ego or needing credit. That's the kind of success I want to build. The duplex needs a new roof, and the plumbing is original to the building. I know. I got it inspected. I have estimates for the repairs. I'm planning to do some of the cosmetic work myself. YouTube has excellent tutorials on painting and basic carpentry. You're going to renovate it yourself? With help, obviously. I'm not trying to rewire electrical or anything dangerous, but I can paint walls and install new fixtures and maybe learn how to fix things instead of just paying someone else to do it. Who's going to help you? You, if you're willing. Maybe on weekends? We could work on it together. I'd like that. I'd like to teach you what I know about maintaining properties. Your mother and I renovated this whole house ourselves when we first bought it. She was better with tools than I was. Really? She never told me that. There's a lot you don't know about your mother. She was an incredible woman who could fix a leaky faucet, balance a budget, and still make you feel like you were the most important person in the world. I see a lot of her in you, especially now. Jennifer smiled. So we have a deal? You'll sell me the duplex? At market rate with a proper mortgage through a bank. I'm not giving you favorable terms just because you're my daughter. Good. I don't want favorable terms. I want to earn this. We shook hands across the table. Then Jennifer stood up and hugged me, really hugged me, the kind of hug I hadn't gotten from her in years. Thank you, Dad. For what? For not giving up on me. For teaching me that real wealth has nothing to do with money. For showing me that the person you are when nobody's watching is the only person that matters. For loving me enough to let me fail and then helping me learn from it. You're my daughter. That's what fathers do. Even fathers who secretly own half the medical buildings in the city, especially those fathers. We spent the rest of the morning looking at renovation plans for the duplex and talking about her MBA classes and my latest property acquisition. It felt like the conversations we used to have before Derek, before the designer clothes and expensive restaurants and pressure to be someone she wasn't. My daughter was back, not because I forced her to change, but because I let her discover on her own what actually mattered. As she was leaving, Jennifer paused at the door. Dad, one more thing. The Honda. It really does have 200,000 miles on it. Maybe it's time for a new car. The Honda runs fine, but if it makes you feel better, I'll consider upgrading when it hits 300,000. She laughed. You're impossible. I'm consistent. There's a difference. After she left, I sat on my porch and watched the neighborhood kids play basketball in the street, same as they'd done every Saturday for years. My phone buzzed with an email from my property manager about a new property acquisition opportunity, a medical plaza in Oregon that was undervalued and ripe for renovation. I'd look at it Monday, but today I was just Walter Morrison, 72-year-old grandfather, sitting on a porch I'd owned for 40 years, in a neighborhood where people knew me as the guy with the old Honda who always waved when they drove by, the guy who'd just gotten his daughter back. And that was worth more than all 47 properties combined.
Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.